Hey everyone, today we have an interview with Heidi all about lupus, heart attack, and hormones. What do they have in common? Wouldn't you like to know? I'm Maggie Yu, MD. I am a functional and holistic medicine physician and the creator of the Transform Protocol. And we have a Facebook group called Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally. Please join that group if you want to learn more about the Transform Autoimmune program and how to turn around your autoimmunity. Today, we're going to be exploring a deep ton about cardiovascular disease, hormones, and autoimmune disease. And we have a wonderful interview with Heidi to illustrate her exact journey and how this applies to you or someone you love. Okay, Heidi, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience?
Hi, I'm Heidi, and I live in Washington, D.C. I'm an empty nester, and I work full-time.
What kind of work do you do?
Training and development.
Okay. So give us a little background on what autoimmune diagnosis or symptoms you struggled with prior to joining our program.
Just prior to joining our program, lupus.
Lupus.
Yeah.
Anything else before that?
So I actually always considered myself a pretty healthy person, though after I joined the program, I started making a list of all the ailments I've had over the years and was astonished that there were quite so many warning signs that I really ignored. I didn't see a connection at all. They're all over the map, all parts of the body, all different times in my life. And they always had an explanation and they were resolved. And, you know, sometimes they'd reappear, but it wasn't anything that was like staying with me my whole life. And then I was working on August 5th, working from home like everybody else during COVID and not stressed out or anything. And all of a sudden just did not feel good and couldn't figure it out. Called my doctor, explained the symptoms. She sent me to the hospital and found out I had a heart attack. So that was completely out of the blue. And it's not your normal heart attack, didn't have any plaque. So an unexplainable one.
Now you know it's explainable.
Right. And so after some blood work, we realized that I probably had lupus. And then that was just confirmed 2 days ago.
Okay, so that's a lot to unpack right there. Okay. And before we go into unpack that, I just want to ask you, just to let the audience know, is you just completed our 2-month online Transform Autoimmune program. So this is recent. This is something that just happened literally a couple months ago for you. You just literally a week or so finished our 2-month online program. So this is fresh off of 2 months of working with us. This is very early in what I tell people is a whole year of autoimmune turnaround for you. So time frame wise, that puts it clear. Now let's unpack some of this. You mentioned now looking back, there are many symptoms of warning signs of autoimmune disease that you are now making the connection. Can you list some of those things so that the Heidi Clarks out there can actually understand what it is that they'd be looking for? There are signs of autoimmunity that their doctors are missing.
Oh, sure. I mean, I'm post-menopause now, but my entire life, I had extraordinarily heavy periods. And I would talk about this with my doctors and they would say, some people just have really heavy periods, use a pad and a tampon. And I would travel for work and I would, it's hard to get out of a classroom when you're training. So it was really, it was difficult, but I managed it. And I was just like, this is kind of gross, but I was like the queen of the blowout. Like it just always happened every month. And so that's one. All right. 2 is I have had 14 different surgical dates, 25 benign breast tumors removed in my life over 20 years. And so until I joined this program, I never even thought about hormones. Nobody even talked to me about hormones. It was just not an issue. But between the heavy periods and the breast tumors, benign ones, thankfully, got to be a hormone problem.
Well, just even those 2 things, though, what the hell does hormones have to do with lupus?
I don't know if hormones have something specifically to do with lupus, but what I now know is that hormones have a lot to do with autoimmune disorder.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is that a lot of people don't realize, doctors don't know that, period. I mean, it is something very unique to me in this program that we teach. And it's no accident that this heart attack and the lupus diagnosis occurred right around peri or postmenopause. That's not an accident. That, in fact, is the typical thing we see, is that around the age of anywhere between 40 and 50 is when we're talking specifically with women here. Women are most likely to be diagnosed with new onset of autoimmune disease or the worsening of an existing autoimmune disorder, right along with the worsening of their hormonal changes. So hormone triggers, huge hormone swings, clearly is a trigger of autoimmune disease. And so that's not an accident that this is when this whole heart thing happened. And that's something you learned, and that's something that we teach in this program. Hormones is the holy grail. It's one of the biggest trigger of autoimmune disease. And so that's number one. What does hormones have to do with autoimmune disease? Is that those big change times, big swings times is a trigger. But the other piece of this, what does autoimmune disease have to do with cardiovascular disease or a heart attack? Let's unpack that a little bit, because I will tell you that plenty of cardiologists will swear up and down that heart attacks or cardiovascular disease have nothing to do with autoimmunity. Let's share your experience with that. Is this true?
Let me just tell you this story. So I kind of conflated the two, but when I was in the hospital, I received the blood work that was done before the heart attack. I received it on my phone because, Helo, you can see your own blood work now. Okay. And so I would have the cardiologist running in and the internist running in, and everybody's talking about my heart attack and might have to do a stent and all this and send you over a double bypass if it's more than one. And I kept pointing to my phone and I kept saying, what is this ANA thing on my blood work? What does this mean? What does this mean? And they said, oh, that's nothing. That's got nothing to do with this. That's a totally different thing. You need to talk to your doctor about that afterward. They literally said this to me.
I know.
After the heart attack.
And only after the heart attack, when they did all the angios and everything, said there is no plaque there. Why the hell is there so much inflammation in this woman's blood vessels that's causing her to actually have, what is a heart attack is something that causes blocking of that artery so that the rest of the heart muscle doesn't get oxygen, right? That could be a physical plaque, right? From cholesterol or hardening of calcified cholesterol. But what about these people like you and many other women and some men? Why is it there are non-plaque cardiovascular disease, non-plaque related heart attacks? Is there something that's happening in the blood vessel that's causing spasming of that blood vessel or inflammation in that blood vessel or hyperclotting in that blood vessel that then blocks it off and then causes the heart attack? That's exactly what happened to you.
Right.
Now, let me just give you guys a really quick analogy. Think about this. Why do people with lupus get a butterfly rash on their face? What is a butterfly rash on the face? It's inflammation of the blood vessels that you can see on someone's face. And because the blood vessels are so close to the skin surface, you actually see them turn red. A butterfly rash is an inflammation of the blood vessels. So for someone to sit here and say, I don't know that lupus has anything to do with blood vessels. We know lupus causes what we call vasculitis, which is inflammation of the blood vasculature. So for me, it's like, duh, that it could be related with non-plaque related heart attacks or cardiovascular disease, vasculitis, rashes. This is all autoimmune related inflammation from blood arteries that are involved, which is part of many autoimmune disorders, not just lupus. So I feel like we're missing the boat on all this. We're missing these connections. How much income do people lose by not taking care of their health now? Right. And people also don't look at the true cost of healthcare. Just your hospitalization for a heart attack. How much do you think the actual real cost?
I know how much it was.
How much was it?
I'm so glad I have health insurance. I know how much.
Let's say you don't have health insurance. How much would it have costed?
It was almost $100,000.
That's one episode of one heart attack. Was real cost is $100,000.
Right.
Okay. Right. And that's just one event. What about the multiple events, multiple hospitalizations, long periods of disability?
Right.
People don't think about what is the cost of not ending this now.
Right.
Right. So I think that is real numbers putting in front of people. Right. And okay, so let's backtrack. Right now, what would you say your top 3 symptoms were prior to joining the program?
So I would say extreme lethargy,
fatigue.
Yeah. Joint pain and muscle pain all over my body, and specifically in my fingers. Couldn't get a good night's sleep.
Insomnia. So those are the top 3 symptoms of most people that are listening to this right now. So a lot of Heidis out there with these symptoms, newly diagnosed autoimmune disease, joint pain, insomnia, and fatigue. Those are actually 3 of the most common symptoms. So can you share where those 3 symptoms are at just 2 months later?
So no finger pain.
No pain.
No finger pain. I will tell you a funny story though. No finger pain. I get out of bed and I can just like go to the bathroom without having to be like, like I'm not all achy and tight. And I am sleeping better for the most part. I do wake up in the middle of the night sometimes, but I don't have trouble falling asleep again. I wake up, I acknowledge that I'm awake, and I go right back. So, and it's not every night. There have been nights when I've slept all the way through the night, and I'm like, I mean, who talks about adults sleeping all the way through the night? But I did.
We do.
But the thing I wanted to tell you, doctor, is you know that movie, It's a Wonderful Life, when he has a chance to see his life if he hadn't been in it. I had a chance to see my life if I hadn't been in the program. Because it's, when you're in the program, it's 8 weeks, but you're slowly making lifestyle changes. You start with the water, and then you go with the food. And there's different things that you're doing. You're learning a little bit more. And so when things happen that slowly, you actually forget about the pain that you were in. And it just becomes part of your life. Like you almost immediately start feeling a little bit better, and then it just increases over time. Well, I had to go get my COVID booster, and I got it last Friday, and I woke up Saturday morning, like before Dr. Maggie. I felt all of the ways that I had felt before I joined the program. It all came on me, and thankfully it went away within 2 days. But I couldn't wait to tell you that, because it was like getting a glimpse into what it was like, because it's easy to forget.
100%.
So what is different about this program is the education. Could I read 100 million books? Probably I could, if I would. I don't know that I would want to, but I don't know if I actually would. And so we had all this condensed learning in a very thoughtfully prepared program. And it wasn't, we weren't just overwhelmed with it. Like there's a very precise formula for how they roll out information, so that in week 1 you get just the right steps that you can take it on and you can adopt it and work with it. And then you learn a little bit more in week 2, and a little bit more in week 3, and a little bit more in week 4. So it's education about the body, how the body works, which I thought I already understood, but I didn't know anything. And it's also education about the mind. Oh man, the mind work is incredible. The mind work is just as important as the body work, because you all beat it into us that we're not going anywhere if we have a negative mindset. I love like the different size groups that there are. There's sometimes we're on a call with 30 people. Sometimes we're on a call with 5 people. Sometimes we're watching a video by ourselves. So it's very purposeful about how many people we're around. And we have this like constant support. I mean, I devoted myself to this. So I was lapping it up, the mastermind calls and the nutrition calls and the pod calls. And it was like always something to be learning and connecting.
Heidi, what would you say is your favorite thing about working with us?
Gosh, there were so many. Well, last night we had a very special pod meeting, and I told them that they were my favorite part, and they were my favorite part. But I think I have a lot of favorite parts. I mean, I just think access to the information when I needed it, and I was desperate and scared, and that information helped calm me down, because I started to understand that I was capable of addressing.
Yes. You actually work in facilitating learning, correct? In schools, yeah. Right? I was curious, do you have any feedback or insight as to how you design and implement these kinds of programs? Any feedback from me?
I love watching folks like you at their craft. There's only 2 programs that I've been in that I've really been amazed by, and this is one of them. And outside of the ones I create, of course. And I don't do it for schools. I do it for adults. I work in a corporation. So I would say that the balance, that hybrid balance, because even though we're not together, probably because of COVID, but also because we all live a million miles apart, I never felt like I was far away from you. Like you're right up here in the camera, and I feel like I'm with you. We are talking. It's as if we are together.
Yes.
And I get that time with you. So I might be on a call with 30 people, but I get to talk with you about my issues. And that's not something you'd get from any doctor. You might be able to make an appointment. You might be able to talk to that doctor for 15 minutes. You're not going to get nearly the depth of time with a doctor that I got in this program.
What's something that surprised you about this program?
The biggest surprise to me is that you delivered on everything that you said you were going to deliver on. And you gave us so much time. It could have gone the other way very easily if we didn't have the right practitioner.
What did you learn about your hormones that was mind-blowing for you in this program? And what do you think the impact of it is going to be on your future health?
I mean, first of all, I actually didn't understand how hormones worked. I don't know how I got all the way through, 12th grade in college without knowing that, but I didn't understand them at all. I had zero information
Hold
about
that thought. Doctors going through medical school and 50 years in training don't know jack shit about hormones.
Interesting.
But don't sit here and say you went through college and didn't know about hormones. We have doctors 50 years in practice right now who know nothing about hormones, and that's the norm. So I'm just giving you kudos for that. But don't knock yourself on that one.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I think the biggest surprise was I didn't even understand the curve, and that when you wake up, it's supposed to be in a certain place and then it goes down. So the biggest surprise to me was that my curve, I hope I'm going the right direction, but is that my curve went down and then went up at 10 p.m. That's super interesting because I would always get this boost of energy at 10 p.m., which helped me when I was in college, late in life, earning my master's degree. And it helped me. It helps me when I'm doing online gaming with my friends on Saturday night and I want to win at 10 o'clock and they're exhausted, but it doesn't help me fall asleep at night. And so this thing that I saw as an advantage that I have all this energy at night was actually a disadvantage for me overall. I think that was the most impactful part of the hormone.
Yeah. And I don't think doctors understand these patterns that are associated with hormones. What you just said right now, 99% of doctors don't know what the hell you just said.
Okay.
But and you even know how to fix it. You knew what caused it and you know how to fix it. That's the other thing. Not only did you recognize the pattern, you know what caused it and you also know how to fix it. That's what you learned in this program.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you so much. Congratulations on your self-confidence, your self-trust, and your success. And I appreciate your generosity in sharing your journey with us.
Thank you so much for devoting your life to this.
Thanks everyone for watching. And I'm thankful to Heidi for sharing this very insightful journey about how really her rheumatologist and her cardiologist and anyone doctor that she's dealt with in the past really didn't make connections around cardiovascular disease, autoimmune disease, or hormones. And really, the other aspect of this I appreciate is that Heidi designs programs to actually help adults learn. And she had incredible feedback and insight as to why this program in particular creates an educational process that's bar none to anyone else. So if you've learned a lot from Heidi's interview, you know anyone with lupus, autoimmune issues, cardiovascular disease that could be helped by these video, please tag their names in the comments section because they may not listen to you. They may not listen to me, but they may listen to Heidi. So sharing is caring and raising awareness, and I thank you in advance. If you'd like to learn more about me or our program, please join our Facebook group, Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally. There's also a link above to chat us or in the comment section below. Once you've commented, check your message request in a couple hours, and you may be receiving some resources from our team to get you started in turning things around for you. Thanks, everybody.